You know, some places have two faces. By day, Mumbai's Powai Lake is this beautiful, serene spot. But when the sun goes down, well, that's when the legends wake up. And we're about to dive into one of the city's most chilling stories, a tale of love, rejection, and a ghost that just wouldn't leave. But before we even get to the lake, our story starts with this one very strange detail. A young woman wakes up in the middle of the night, and there's a puddle of water under her bed, and she has absolutely no idea how it got there.
That puddle was just the first sign of a waking nightmare for a student named Ruchi. It was the beginning of a haunting that was about to completely take over her life.
Okay, just imagine this for a second. You're jolted awake by a voice you recognize, whispering to you from right underneath your bed. And for Ruchi, there was no mistaking that voice. It was Akash.
She completely freezes, listening. Then she peeks over the edge of her bed and sees a pair of feet standing there. But when she looks up, there's nobody attached to them. She forces herself to look underneath the bed, and there he is, Akash, just lying there, crying his eyes out. She screams, her roommates come running, they tear the room apart and find nothing. They tell her it was just a bad dream, but then they all see it. The floor, right under her bed, is soaking wet.
So who was Akash, and why was his ghost suddenly under her bed, drenched in water? To understand any of this, we have to go back to one really bad day at Powai Lake. This pretty much sums them up, right? They were complete opposites. Akash was the class clown, the mischievous guy in the back. Ruchi was the studious one, the class topper, totally focused. He had this huge, one-sided crush on her, but for Ruchi, he was barely even on her radar. So one day, Akash decides he's just gonna go for it. He gets his friends to bring Ruchi down to the lake, and right there, in front of everyone, he spills his guts, tells her how much he likes her, that he'll make her happy, and Ruchi's response? She just laughs, right in his face. She publicly humiliated him, telling him they were a total joke and to just leave her alone. And that moment of cruelty, it just shattered him. The loudest, funniest kid in school went completely silent. For a week, he just sat in the back of the class, not saying a word. And then he just disappeared. He stopped coming to school altogether.
Ruchi, well, she eventually moved on, kind of forgot the whole thing ever happened. But Akash hadn't forgotten. And this is where the story shifts from a single creepy encounter to something way, way more disturbing.
She starts seeing him in the classroom, sitting at his old desk. But there was this one detail that was always the same, and it was terrifying. Every single time she saw him, he looked like he'd just been pulled out of the water. He was always soaking wet. Now, this timeline is the most horrifying part of this whole thing, because the ghost wasn't just a static image, it was changing. It was decaying right in front of her. For 2 weeks, Ruchi was forced to watch this transformation. At first, he was just wet. Then, a few days later, his face looked pale and drawn. After a week or so, his skin took on this sickly yellowish color. And by day 14, his form was bloated, disfigured, almost unrecognizable. Ruchi is terrified, confused, and wrestling with this awful guilt. She finds herself drawn back to the place where all this pain started, and it's there that the whole mystery unravels in the most gruesome way you can imagine. She's just sitting there by the lake when she sees a police boat. She watches as they pull something out of the water. It's a body. And it's been in the lake for so long, it's bloated and almost unidentifiable. Ruchi is horrified and just runs away from the scene. The very next day, a teacher runs into the classroom during an exam with a terrible announcement. They've identified the body from the lake. It was Akash, and the police said he'd taken his own life 2 weeks ago. His body had been in the water that entire time, 14 days, and in that one moment, it all clicks into place with this sickening clarity. The decay she'd been watching, it wasn't random. His spirit was showing her, day by day, exactly what was happening to his physical body at the bottom of Powai Lake. She was forced to watch his spirit rot in perfect time with his corpse. Now, you'd think that finding his body would be the end of it, that his spirit could finally move on. But you'd be wrong. For Ruchi, the discovery wasn't the end of her ordeal. It was just the beginning of a lifetime of torment. That evening, while Akash's body is being cremated, Ruchi is in her room praying this is all over.
And then he appears to her one last time. But he's not wet anymore. No. This time, his entire body is engulfed in flames, and he tells her, "I'm not going anywhere. I'll always be with you."
And he kept his promise. According to the legend, that curse destroyed the rest of her life. The brilliant student, she failed all of her exams. She tried to get married 3 times, but each one ended in divorce because Akasha's spirit would terrorize any man who got close to her. She ended up living her whole life alone. No husband, no kids, just the constant haunting presence of the boy she'd laughed at so long ago.
So is this just a chilling urban legend passed down through the decades? A cautionary tale about what one moment of cruelty can do? Or is it something more? Maybe it's a reminder that some actions create ghosts that never, ever leave us. And that the deepest, darkest waters aren't in a lake, but in a single moment of regret.